Generation Zero, Francesca Bradley. Good afternoon and welcome.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā ahi. I'm going to make this very brief. We are speaking today on, again, extending the 1 hour free car parking. Our view is that we are thoroughly confused. We understand that the aim of this trial was to encourage more people to come into the central city. So we can completely support that in post-quake Christchurch. We can support that as a temporary measure, but now it's being proposed that this be extended. So this is directly detrimental to your other efforts that you're making of encouraging people to explore other transport options and enable that transport behavioural shift that our city needs. We need to do this to reduce congestion, which we will inevitably get to, and also a lower carbon future. Then to throw a spanner in the works, the data that's been collected by council staff actually shows that the trial hasn't been successful. So we really cannot understand why the council is considering extending this. In our submission, we copied verbatim what the staff's research findings were, and that is that none of our central car parking buildings are at or even near capacity. The parking supply and demand survey of the central city late last year showed that the supply of parking in the central city exceeded the demand. Second point was, according to the research, the people that were interviewed expected to pay for their central city parking, and they were concerned that this would undermine that general acceptance that car parks should be paid for by the users. And then lastly, that the council just don't have the money. If they plan to extend this, it will be a $400,000 reduction in revenue. So our last final point that we would like to make, which you probably wouldn't assume, is that we actually do support the service that is provided by these parking buildings. And it's the private providers that are actually beneficial to our city in reducing the demand for on-street parking. And that way they're actually freeing up the space for more active and public transport options. So our concern is that by council offering this incentive, it's actually competing directly with private car park owners and operators and is undermining that confidence in investing in city parking facilities. That's all we've got.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who's got any questions? I think it's pretty crystal. Oh, Dion, yes.
Do you support people having choice of transport options?
Yes, definitely.
And so if they want to choose to be in a car that's got, well, it might be an electric car, so it's not going to have any emissions, but they may have congestion, but they've got their heater, they've got their music and stuff like that. Do you support them having those choices if they want to have those choices?
Yeah.
But absolutely taking into consideration that we do need to improve our public transport and our active transport as well?
Definitely. I just think that the service has already been provided by the private businesses that are there. They are providing the service that is not even at capacity.
And I mean,
there already is that incentive.
And are you aware that when the trial was happening, that most of the roads around that Litchfield car park were closed, and it made a big impact to actually being able to get to the place in the first instance? Yes,
but there was also, there's the art gallery, there's all the other car parking places as well. I mean, if you were to extend the trial, when? Like, how long is this? I mean, if it is to encourage more people to come back into the city, is this a year-long plan, or are we going to keep on saying the regeneration is just failing? Because if we're saying that's because people can't get a car park, there's something wrong with how we're rebuilding our city.
Yanni.
Just two quick questions. One is interested in the final comment that you just made around how long. Yeah. Given the comment that's been made, like Litchfield and Durham Street intersection's been a complete disaster for about probably 2-3 years. Yeah. Would you? I know you don't support the principle of this, but in terms of continuing it for a year, is that something that you would support? Given that we then could see the network hopefully operating as it's supposed to, rather than all the road closures.
Yeah, I would say a year maximum. When do we want to see our city at full capacity? What is the long-term plan? But also, can we guarantee that 1 hour free parking is a good enough incentive if none of the car parks are at capacity?
The other question I had was, we've heard previous submitters talk about hospital car parking, and we've also had a lot of horror stories around people using private car parking. You've talked a lot about leaving it to the private operators for the off-street.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the kind of concerns that the community have raised in terms of the quality, and the pricing and the expense that has for people that, you know, when they do come in and use those private operators compared to the public?
I probably can't speak to that from my personal experience, which isn't very validated. The price that we're paying for parking in Christchurch is nothing compared to any of the other cities in New Zealand. It should be a deterrent, and it isn't at the moment, and it does seem as though it is still enabling a lot of people to depend on driving into the city and not exploring those other options that should be used for people that cannot explore those other options. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I was just concerned that those people who cannot explore other options are the ones that are hit hardest by the private operators.
Yeah. Sorry, I probably can't speak to it from my experience.
Sarah?
I think so that if we were to try something different, would you support something along the lines of not necessarily free first hour, but a lower cost off-street parking, but doing other things to encourage people to get off-street rather than being on-street?
Yeah, I think that would be a good option, but I'm sure that would wouldn't be so popular with the private providers.
Yeah.
But if it was
still charging, but maybe a lower rate.
As an educational sort of practice to encourage people to get used to, if you're going into town, don't expect to get an on-street car park. You'd need to go directly to the building. We could support that.
Okay.
Yep. Dion?
Just another line of, would you support validated parking? So people that come into the city centre, they utilise services or have a look around, and then they can get a ticket or something like that.
They show their receipt, and then I'm not an expert in that field, but it could work.
I think a lot of private businesses do that in other centres. All right. Well, look, thank you very much for your time and trouble. Much appreciated.